This all started?
Maybe about, I don't know, more or less 3 months ago.
I have the doctor's notes from that visit, and then they
Okay.
did a MRI of her brain, and I brought those. So that might say some things about the visit that we had, that she talks about that, and then there's that right there.
Oh. So you are on, was this, did you get this lab done fasting?
Yeah.
You didn't, okay. And you're on this statin, the
Yes,
rosuvastatin?
So she's on it now, yes.
Oh, before this, she was on it before this, or they started because of this?
They started it because of that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause she had told me that my cholesterol was high for me to take medication, but I said, no, I don't wanna take medication, so she told me to do exercises and walk and stuff.
Yeah.
And, one night I was in bed asleep, and then I felt my heart was really racing and a lot of pounding in my ears, and then, so then she said I'd had a 2 small strokes. They examined me and all, they made some tests and said I had 2 small strokes.
Okay.
So kind of what started all of this is a few months back, I'm one of 6 daughters, and whenever she would talk to each one of us, she would repeat the same stories. Maybe she's sharing family history, or maybe an encounter she had with a family member. And so she would basically she would tell me the story, then a few days later I would talk to her, and then she would tell me the same story again. And then she would talk to another daughter, and then she would tell her the story, and then she would tell her the same story again, and the same story again. And then, so we were kind of getting a little bit concerned about that, because it wasn't bothering us, but we were concerned because it was continuing to be an ongoing thing. So we took her into her primary doctor, and she did like a memory test. She scored okay, wasn't that great, but the doctor said, but it was okay. And then she said, we're gonna do MRI. My mom's, she's had high cholesterol for 2 years, and then finally just decided to cooperate with us and take the medication to bring that down. She had a carotid ultrasound about a month ago, and everything was normal. So the doctor at that point was just trying to troubleshoot, do a process of elimination. And then, of course, as you've seen, the MRI report shows these small infarctions.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would say that often these enlarged perivascular spaces in the basal ganglia get mistaken for strokes. So it may be that you didn't actually have any strokes; they're just enlarged spaces, and you've had them all your life.
Yeah, cause.
It's hard. I would have to look at it myself to
Mhm.
kind of make that determination. But you certainly have risk factors for these types of strokes, and that would be high
Mhm.
cholesterol. So either way, you
Yeah,
probably
because
just want to be on the cholesterol medicine.
I remember that when I had that night that my ears were really ringing and my heart pounding, I went to the hospital and they
Yeah.
took a test of my heart and stuff. They said everything was fine.
Yeah, I don't think that was a stroke. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that was, but that wouldn't have had anything to do with these things in your brain.
So then the concern of coming and referring ourselves to a neurologist was for the simple fact of the doctor, as you can see in some of the notes that you just looked over, that she basically gave her a diagnosis of like dementia, and then wanted her to start the donazepam,
Donepezil, yeah.
Donepezil, which we didn't feel like the doctor really should have made that type of a diagnosis. So we didn't have her take any of the medication until we wanted to come and get a second opinion, to see what's going on.
And do you live alone? Or do you
No,
live
no,
with-
my husband and I live too.
Oh, okay. And how's your husband's health?
Pretty good. Mm-hmm.
And has he noticed any changes in your cognition and your thinking?
Yeah, he would say yes.
Forgetfulness,
And what kinds of things? So you mentioned that you and the rest of the your sisters have noted the repetitive stories or statements
Yeah.
over the phone. What else? Are there any more things that have been noted either by you or your husband?
Well, my sister, one of my sisters was here during the holiday, and she accompanied my mom to her eye doctor appointment, which my mom drove, and she didn't remember where the eye doctor was. So she drove around and finally told my sister, I don't really remember where it's at. And then they found out where it's at. And then of course she hadn't seen that eye doctor for, was it maybe a year you hadn't seen him?
Yeah, more or less.
So we can't, we could say, okay, well, she hadn't seen him for a while, so she didn't remember where his office was. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that could happen. But she does drive by herself locally. My dad drives her when they are going to go, beyond 30 miles, I guess. She's very involved in her church. She visits some elderly people. So she has a very active life. She writes music for the choir.
I'm in the choir for many years.
Yeah, she's been doing that for a long time. Her primary doctor, Dr. Janet McCooney, told her, just keep doing what you're doing. There was a little question about maybe the driving might not be that great.
Yeah.
That's when she said, well, maybe one of your daughters can drive with you and see how you did. So that sister went with her in December and reported, well, Mom didn't do good. She didn't remember where she went. I was with her over the weekend and she drove, and if I was a driving instructor, I would have said she passed, because there was no swerving. She knew exactly where she was going. She was obeying all the rules and the lights and everything, so she did very well.
And how about more complex activities like cooking or managing finances? Do you do either of those things at home?
Yeah, I'm still doing that, and then I go for
You do
walks.
both of those?
Yes.
No cooking. She doesn't cook.
Well, I'm tired of cooking, so then.
Is that something you gave up recently because you were having problems with it, or something?
No, it's just that I guess getting tired, because I'm getting tired of what I cooked today, kind of thing, But I managed to eat.
And who takes care of the finances, like pays the bills, balances?
I do everything.
You do all that.
Mhm.
And has there been any problems with
No.
splitting those tasks?
That's what I was telling my daughters. I said, hey, I still balance my checkbook and no problem. Pay the bills, the house.
And in general, do you ever get confused about what month it is, what year it is? things like
No,
that?
just when I have an appointment coming up, I kind of ask my husband, what day was it, just to kind of not to forget,
Okay, and and I know you're involved with the church and writing music. Do you have any other hobbies that you've had to give up recently?
No, it's been the same, the going to visit the homebound, and then, being a Eucharistic minister at church, and then a music ministry.
Okay. Do you do any exercise?
No, I just kinda walk maybe once a week, and she told me that I should dance or walk, and so I don't do that, I don't do too good in that department.
And did your primary care doctor ever talk to you about going to a neuropsychologist, somebody who does like more intensive
No.
measurements of
just
your
the
cognition? Just
MRI,
this, just this. Oh, just the MRI.
Yeah, so her plan of action or plan of care was to start her on the Stanton, have her get back on her regular multivitamins, and then have her taking the that medication, and then in March she would be having a follow-up with her.
Okay.
To see where she was at. Unfortunately, her primary care has relocated to Southern California, so we're not sure who we're gonna see at that time, but
And that's the one you have here, Dr. Janet.
yeah, Dr. Janet McClooney, yes.
So she's no longer in the picture.
She's no longer in the picture.
Okay. Well, so what we often do in these situations where there's, because just basing on the score, the MoCA score, that screening test that your primary care doctor did, just based on that score, it's kind of in the borderline of, okay, is this a result that signifies early dementia, or is this maybe just accelerated age-related cognitive changes, or maybe education-related. And then there's this history that's a little bit unclear, where on the one hand you're still paying the bills and doing high-level things, you're still engaged socially with your things, but on the other hand, having these repetitive statements or stories with that. So those two things are seemingly at odds. I mean, I'm sure they're both true, but they don't, at least there isn't a notion of information telling me that yes, this is definitely dementia, or no, this is not. So we'll send, we would normally do in this situation, we'd send you to a neuropsychologist who does an expanded cognitive profile, which both can help us understand where you are compared to people your age, and also if there's a pattern of decline that's consistent with Alzheimer's disease, for example, or not consistent with Alzheimer's disease, that can be useful, because that can help us rule it in or rule it out. A lot of times though, we have you do that testing and again, we're kind of left in the gray zone, the gray area. Okay, there's decline here, could be early Alzheimer's disease, could not be. And then we just have to watch you over time and repeat the testing in, usually about a year's time. And if there's significant decline a year later, then we would say that's consistent with a progressive neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
So that's how we would usually approach this. In the meantime, it's not totally unreasonable to start you on donepezil, which is a cognitive boosting medication. It doesn't treat any underlying problem. It's kind of like the way I explain it to people. It's kind of like putting a snake oil in your engine until that gas runs out. It'll work. It'll help you maybe achieve a little bit higher, but it doesn't have any long lasting effects.
Yeah.
So
I have a question. I had an aunt that had Alzheimer's, and then I have she finally passed away, but I have a sister that's 80, I think 85, and she has Alzheimer's or dementia, and then I have a brother that's 84, and he's got some little bit of dementia also.
dementia as well. Yeah, sometimes there are genetic risk factors, but the vast majority of people with Alzheimer's disease don't have one of those genetic risk factors.
Mm-hmm.
And Alzheimer's disease is common enough that you can have multiple family members affected, and it doesn't mean that you share a gene necessarily.
Right.
So, for you, I would say, I'm not sure, unless you told me that one of your other family members had genetic testing, and yes, indeed, they had some susceptibility gene, like an ApoE4 homozygous.
Yeah, that was on my mother's side. When her baby sister never got married, and they said they had to put her in a rest home because she would leave the house and stuff, and they thought it was dangerous. So they ended up putting her in a nursing home, and then I don't know how long she was there, and she passed away.
Yeah.
So then overall, how is taking that medication going? Is because even the doctor said, well, some were in a small percentage it works, it's not lasting, just some of the same things that you said. So
yeah, you might try it, for a month, and if you never noticed any improvement, you might say, okay, well, she's a non-responder to this medication. There's no sense in continuing to take a medication and complicate medications.
So then what would we be looking, what would be some of the signs that we would be looking for that it's actually working? Like what would we notice? Oh, hey, that she's
So yeah, maybe just the things that you've been noticing,
Okay.
like the repetitive stories and statements on the phone. So maybe those diminish or go away entirely. I mean, that would be a really kind of an amazing response.
Yeah.
But one could hope. We wouldn't necessarily repeat like a an office screening exam. The problem with the office screening exams is you do them often enough and she gets better at doing them because a lot of them include the same questions, so it's not really reliable to do that. Even the expanded testing that the neuropsychologist does, usually they recommend you do it no more than 2 times or 3 times a day at the most, and separate it by enough months or years that you won't remember what happened.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
so then where do we go from here? Because you mentioned
so where are you located?
She lives in Oceano.
Okay. And where's
That's an hour 20 minutes north of here.
Okay. So we would send you to one of the neuropsychologists probably in Goleta, because that's probably the closest. They do have a neuropsychologist in San Luis Obispo. They probably have one in Santa Maria. I don't know any of the names. I could find the one in San Luis Obispo if you want rather go there.
Yeah, let's just see if you can give us that information. That would be great. Yeah. And so basically it's just going to start like a testing process of seeing where she's at, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah, so his name is Thomas Wiley. name Los Obispo, phone number is. And then we can also forward our note to him so he has our information as
Okay,
well.
that would be great. So do you think at this point, because you said in order for you to determine the findings in the MRI, you'd have to look at the,
Yeah, it might be helpful. I might look at it and say, I'm really not sure. The radiologist who looked at it was, kind of hedged on it and said, could be this or this. And I might also say, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it's this or that. But, in the end, I'd say having small lacunar infarcts in the basal ganglia is not terribly uncommon. And you're on the right treatment for it. Controlling blood pressure and controlling cholesterol are the two things. So even if I was sure that they were lacunar infarcts, not sure we would change any of what we're doing.
right.
So, but you're welcome to bring. I mean, I could pop it in and take a look at it.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Just gonna write down the fax number. Okay. So, and then any issues at nighttime, becoming more confused or irritable or paranoid at nighttime?
No, I sleep
Thinking that
very,
people are going to come into the house and snatch you or
no,
steal
and
things?
I sleep
No.
very good.
How well do you sleep well?
Yes, very well. Go to bed, I think about 9, at the latest maybe 9 something, 9:30, but other than that, I sleep very good, and I've been in the music ministry since 96, and I've only forgotten, one time the song that I was supposed to sing when the priest came in, but other than that, no mistakes in my ministry so far.
Good. And that's the only medicine, rosuvastatin, is that right?
Yeah.
How was your blood pressure?
Well, she did say it was high when she told me to take medication. I said no, and then that's when I had that kind of like she said 2 minute strokes. After the
How high did she put on here what your last blood pressure was?
So that was in November, and it shows on that one how high it was.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see, and then so this report was from December, 156/80.
Yeah. Well, again, if they were lacunar infarcts, lacunar strokes, then controlling your blood pressure is important to prevent further strokes, and also has shown in studies now that lowering blood pressure probably slows delays or slows progressive cognitive decline. So I'd say if your primary care doctor, when you establish with them, thinks you need to be on a blood pressure medicine, I would say I'm on board with that.
So what's the normal for her age? She's gonna be 75 in a couple months. So what would be the range?
Yeah, so we would want it, under 130 over 80.
Okay.
Because I think the last time I had it checked was, I think it was 143 over 76 or something like that. I forgot, I should have written it down, but.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that.
Let's go over to the exam room. We'll do a quick neurological exam, and then you can call Dr. Wiley Thomas, and we'll send a referral over there. When you get an appointment with him, go ahead and make a return visit to see me, and we'll go over the results and try to decide what it means in the context of what you've been going through and decide whether it's likely you have early dementia or not.
Perfect.
Come on this way. Okay, you get the hot seat up there. Any falls? Falling over, tripping? No? Alright, look straight ahead there at the door. Okay. And then follow my finger over your eyes, keep your head still. There you go. Look at my nose, and when you see my finger move, point to it with your finger. How about now? Which one?
This one first and then this other one.
Close your eyes really tightly. Open your eyes. Show me your teeth. Big smile. Stick out your tongue. Move it side to side. Shrug up your shoulders. Okay, elbows out like this. And bring them up high. And don't let me push your elbows down. Good. Now pull in toward yourself. Yeah. The other side. Pull in. Good. And then push out against me. Good. Push out against me. Okay. Spread out your fingers. And don't let me push them in. Good. Good. Squeeze. Really hard. Good. Plant your hands right there. And lift up your knee. And push up against me. Okay, good. Other side. Good. Straighten this leg. Hard, really hard. Good. Straighten this one. Bend your knee. And don't let me straighten it. Keep it bent. Good. Bend this one. Good. And then flex your feet up like this. Keep them up. Yeah. Relax your feet. Loose. Relax your knees. Relax your arms. Good. With your index finger, reach out and touch my finger. And then touch your nose. And back to my finger. Back to your nose. Finger. Nose. Okay. Do the same thing with the left hand. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Good. With the right hand, tap like this. Left hand, tap, tap, tap. Okay, big and fast. Good. Come down here on the carpet. And can you walk on the balls of your feet? Okay, and now walk on your heels. Good. And then turn around and walk heel to toe.
Yeah, okay.
Like you're on a tightrope, or you're doing a sobriety test. Try it again.
Okay.
Excellent. When did you last take feet together like this? And close your eyes. When did you last take the written? Go ahead and close your eyes. When did you last take the written driving test?
I think maybe 2 years.
2 years ago. Okay.
Maybe not even 2 years.
Usually, I think they do it every 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my guess is he's probably booking out, 1 to 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see you
After that.
after that. as soon as you get the appointment, call my office and make an appointment for like a week or two
A
later,
follow-up. Okay.
so that you don't wait all the way till that time and then not able to get in earlier. And then I say go ahead and give the donepezil a try.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's no magic here, but if you definitely notice a response, then great. If you definitely don't notice a response, then great. We know it's not useful for you.
Yeah. Okay.
It's when it's kind of in the gray zone that we're not
Yeah.
sure, and usually we just continue it, or depending on your preferences as well.
Okay.
Right?
Do I still take the, this, what is it? I can't
The
pronounce it.
statin.
Yes.
Yeah, you need
Yes.
to keep taking that. Yeah.
Keep taking the statin. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your cholesterol's pretty high.
Okay. Any questions?
All right.
Good.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you in